Welcome back to Chicago Crossing Model Railroad. Eric here with you. Today we are taking a look at the Bachmann N-scale 55-foot steel coil car with angled hood in this case. This is a series of models released by Bachmann in their Silver Series rolling stock. I actually have very little rolling stock from Bachmann. It's not typically my go-to, especially for kind of finer quality stuff. But at the same time, like Atlas or any of the other large manufacturers, you have different grades of things. For Atlas, you have anything ranging from like Master or Masterline Plus all the way down to Trainman, which is considered the cheaper, more affordable, maybe a little bit more chunky model. So this falls somewhere in the mid-grade. So anyway, given the sheer number of different coil car models that have come out in the last couple of years, and given that this is part of the rail traffic on mine, I thought it's time to take a look at a Bachmann model for once. So just a couple of points that Bachmann makes about these models. Number one is these have removable hoods. Number two, they also come with a steel coil load. Number three, they have metal wheels. So presumably some higher grade features, and for that reason we will compare this model once we get it unboxed against models from Atlas, also from Red Caboose, and from Scale Trains to see how this particular model stacks up. Now, this model is by no means inexpensive. It comes in at an MSRP of $59, and it is typically sold by retailers at somewhere around $41 to $42. You can get it at Train World for $39. So for essentially what looks to be a new tooled item that is by no means cheap. In fact, certainly by MSRP, it actually exceeds what Scale Train's model is. What that means is we're essentially looking at a quite expensive model. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and get this unboxed just to show you what this one is in particular. This is the N-scale 55-foot steel coil car. I have the angled hood variant. There are two different hood variations that you can get, the rounded hoods as well as the angled hoods. And this is the Conrail road number, and you can also see the item number there. So this is how it comes. You can pretty much see right away what happens to be in there. There are a total of 6 coils as well as the model itself. So we'll pull off the top here and pull off the protective lining as well. Actually, that all comes out as one piece. Something kind of interesting underneath here is included our old style Rapido couplers, which is sort of interesting. Anyways, let's go ahead and pull this thing apart. Nothing else really in there. So here is the model. We'll zoom in a little bit on that just so you can get some of the finer relief over here. So not a bad looker just from straight away. And we'll pull this out and obviously take a little bit more of a look at the detail on here. So these hoods are removable. They do actually seem to stay on the model reasonably decently. So that seems to like they must clip on fairly well. And then we have a series of steel coils in here, as you can see, all wrapped up nice and tidily. And so this is basically what we're looking at. So this is the Conrail model. As you can see, if we zoom in here, you have nice fine text throughout. Printing looks good, color looks good, just kind of the typical Conrail sort of hull red livery. In terms of detailing on here, certainly you have separately fitted parts like these hooks for the crane, as well as the saddles over here that these hoods can be stacked up on top of. You have a separately fitted wheel. The chain is molded over on the brake side. You also have essentially some kind of metal walkway. This is not an etched part. That is actually a plastic part separately applied. So, certainly a little more chunky than scale trains, but probably on par, as you'll see with stuff from Atlas. And then on the underside, you do have, some detailing here. Certainly nothing separately applied, and you have body-mounted couplers, and you also have wheels that are basically steel. So that's kind of the general look of the thing. Let's see if we can remove these hoods. Ooh, all right, well, they do come off. Okay, it took a little bit of doing it. They may, come on and off a little bit more easily the next time through. Within the car body, what you see is basically a metal bottom to that, simulated metal. You can actually see here the rivets included, and then you have the spacers over here, which normally on a scale trains model you have to apply post hoc, but these are already molded in, or not molded in, but simply applied separately. In fact, I think this entire ring up here where the hoods sit is simply a separate part that has been applied to the model. So another thing to know about the couplers, these are, I believe, the Bachmann specific type of coupler. I also noticed that there is a fairly longer piece coming out here on the draw gear. Not sure how prototypical that is. We can certainly look at a couple of other models just to get a sense of it. So as far as the coils go, let's go ahead and open those up. And here's what they look like. These actually look pretty nice because you can see the layering on there. So in other words, it does look like coiled steel. It's not just a single piece. And yeah, it's got a pretty decent sheen there. And these coils actually fit in, in a pretty straightforward way. Okay, so those all, sit in pretty nice and easily. And then the hoods fit on top. And now that I've actually got those taken off, they do actually, sit and come off in a pretty straightforward way. So that seems good. Next up, let's take a look at the weight of this car. Since I already have the coils in, let's see what this does in terms of loaded weight. And we get 0.75 ounces. For a car of this length, somewhere around 1.1 to like 0.95 ounces would probably be NMRA standard. So as with pretty much every car I review, it is underweight. And if we take the coils out, assuming that you wish to run this thing empty, let's see what we end up finding. My guess is that this will now be kind of like the scale trains and other models like that, where with removable hoods it'll be really underweight. So 0.45, the hoods are going to be pretty negligible here. So about 0.55 ounces. So you're getting essentially just about 0.25 ounces of additional weight from those steel coils. If we take the unloaded scale trains model and pop it on there, that is even more severely underweight. That's actually 0.40. It really depends on those coils for weight. And then if we take a look at the Atlas Master Line, which I think is just a retooling of like a Walthers model or something like that, that is 1.4. So that's actually on the slightly heavy side relative to these other cars for the same amount of length. So as you can see here, what I've got set up is the Bachmann model over here, and then I've got the scale trains model over here. Now, I've reviewed the scale trains model before. It's got its pluses and minuses, but certainly it pushes the limit of what fine scale modeling can be in the context of N scale. It has numerous fitted parts, a huge amount of undercarriage detail. It has etched running boards all the way around. It has small wire grasps and things like that, and everything is really quite compellingly scaled. Now this model, if you were to try to find this over at the manufacturer's website, in other words, getting this directly from Scale Trades, you'd get it for around $39 to $40 MSRP. That is actually in some fairly stark contrast to the Bachmann model. So versus maybe about $39 direct from the manufacturer, for instance, the MSRP for this thing is $59, if you can believe that. So a more expensive model with substantially less detail. At the retail price, something like this runs pretty darn close to that price point that the MSRP is. This thing, about $41. I got mine for $39.99. So essentially what you're looking at is a dilemma for you as a model railroader. Do you want to get the more detailed model or the less detailed model for the same amount of money? Which one would you rather have? You know, for me, I would certainly rather have the more detailed one. What would be a potential reason to get this one? I don't know, if you want a slightly chunkier, more durable model. But in that case, heck, why not save money and go for the old, kind of Walthers or Atlas Masterline models that run typically around like $24 a piece. They don't have removable hoods per se or anything like that, but geez, those things are cheap. So with all that in mind, from my standpoint, it's a nice enough model as it looks. If it were $24, I think it would probably be a really good deal. For $40, absolutely not. And I would much rather go with one of these, even with the minor flaws that exist in a fine scale model like that, because of the fact that it pushes boundaries. But this really pushes no boundaries whatsoever. And so I think, for what you get, it's really just not worth the money. All right, let's go ahead and drop this onto the layout and we'll see how it runs.